We tell young people today, drop out of school, because schools, education today, is the worst narcotic drug of all. Don't politic. Don't vote. These are old men's games. Impotent and senile old men that want to put you onto their old chess games of war and power. Drop out. Tune in with natural things. Take off your shoes. Get back in tune with God's harmony. Surround yourself with beauty and sacred objects. You can't get caught in the conforming, rote lockstep, which we call American society.
You are a god. Act like one. Timothy Leary discusses his now famous slogan, turn on, tune in, drop out. International Times, Volume 1, Issue number 24. Your state of consciousness is reflected in your environment. You create your environment. Let us consider a sad illumination. The London office worker. He works in a dark room, foul with polluted air. He moves through a clutter of factory-made, anonymous furniture to a celluloid bathroom and a plastic, impersonal kitchen. He eats breakfast of canned, packaged, anonymous celluloid, food fuel. He dresses himself in the anonymous costume of the robot city dweller, cotton underwear, socks, shoes, shirt, tie, jacket. He travels through dark tunnels of sooty metal and gray concrete to a metal box office. There he deals all day with the symbols on pieces of tape, which have no relevance to his divine possibilities of sense, seed, cell membrane. He uses the money he makes to pay for his celluloid food in his foul air apartment. This man is surrounded by an environment which is dreary, polluted, dead, impersonal, assembly line, mass-produced, anonymous. This is the environment of an automated robot. It is his robot state of unconsciousness which creates his environment. This external world perfectly mirrors his turned off awareness. When this man turns on, he sees at once the horror of his mind reflected in his surroundings. If he tunes in, he begins to change his movements and his surroundings so that they become more in harmony with his internal beauty. If everyone in London were to turn on and tune in, grass would grow on the Strand, and tieless, shoeless divinities would dance down the careless streets. This will happen within 25 years. Deer will graze down Charing Cross Road. Every action of a human being reflects his state of consciousness. Therefore, every person is an artist, i.e., one who communicates his experience. Most people are not tuned in consciously. They experience only in terms of static, tired robot symbols. Therefore, their actions and their surroundings are robot, dead art. After you turn on, you must tune in. You must start changing your dress, your home, your sequence of movements, your environment, so that it reflects the grandeur and glory of your divine vision. You must look and act different. But this process of tuning in must be harmonious and graceful. No abrupt, destructive, rebellious actions, please. Start tuning in through your body movements. Walk, talk, eat, drink like a forest-dwelling, joyous God. Next, change your dwelling place. If you have to live in the city for the time being, arrange your apartment so that it becomes a shrine. Throw out all furniture that is not sacred psychedelic. Your room should reflect a timeless, eternal beauty with no 20th century impersonal gadgets. Every object should be psychedelic, should make immediate sense to the sense organs of a visiting Buddha, Christ, or lay Tao. Psychedelic drugs make it possible to reach a wide range of consciousness. The experienced psychedelic religionist can move consciousness from one level to another, just like focusing a microscope or telescope. But then what? So what? The experience must be communicated, harmonized with the greater flow. The psychedelic experience is not just an internal, private affair. The turned-on person realizes that he is not an isolated entity and a separate social ego, but rather one transient energy process hooked up with the energy dance around him. The turned-on person is sensitively aware of his own movements as gestures in the great ballet of evolution. The turned-on person realizes that every action is a reflection of where he is at. The turned-on person knows that his environment, his world, is created by his consciousness, existing only because he has arranged his sensory and neural cameras to shoot these particular scenes. The turned-on person knows that his movements, his dress, his grooming, his room, his house, the neighborhood in which he lives, is an exact external replica of his state of consciousness. If the outside environment doesn't harmonize with his state of mind, he knows that he must move gracefully to get in tune. Tune in means to arrange your environment so that it reflects your state of consciousness. Tune in means to harness your internal energy to the flow around you. These last few lines contain the most practical, liberating message you have ever received. If you understand this message, you are free to live a life of beauty. When you have made your body a sacred temple and your apartment a sacred shrine dedicated to psychedelic beauty, you will be ready to change your broader social commitments. Do not drop out until you have tuned in. Do not turn on unless you know how to tune in. If you turn on without tuning in, you will get psychotically hung up. Every bad trip is caused by the failure to tune in, and here's why. When you tune in, you trigger off energy. Pot flicks on sensory energy, hashish to somatic energy, LSD to cellular energy, high-dose LSD to molecular energy. These forceful energies must not be harnessed to a trivial ego game. You cannot hook up 100 million years of sensory somatic revelation to your puny, trivial personality chessboard. You cannot hook up 2 billion years of evolutionary revelation to your squalid social game. This is why marijuana and LSD are religious sacraments. If they are used in a non-religious setting, they will inevitably, sooner or later, freak you out. I have personally followed over 5,000 persons who have begun the yoga of LSD, the large majority have had to turn off, tune out, and cop out because they would not harness their tuned-in energies to a more harmonious game. Once a week is the natural sequence for the sacramental use of LSD, but you cannot take LSD once a week and stay rigidly rooted in a low-level ego game. You have to harness the flow or you will have a bad trip. To those who have never taken LSD and to those who have stopped taking LSD are trapped in repetitious psychotic games. They live a continuous 24-hour-a-day bad trip. To continue to use LSD, you must generate out around you an ever-widening ring of tuned-in actions. You must hook up your inner power to a life of beauty. Exercises. Go home and look at yourself in the mirror. Start changing your dress, your behavior, so that you float like a god, not shuffle like a robot. Look around at your home. What kind of dead robot lives there? Start throwing out everything that is not tuned in to your highest vision. Make your body a temple. Make your home a shrine. You are a god. Live like one. From the Mile High Underground of Colonnada, Fall 1967.
Timothy Leary claimed that he came to the realization that he was to usher in Crowley's new age when he was using Crowley's tarot cards. Leary asked the question, who am I and what is my destiny? Leary claims that he then cut to the Ace of Disc. Robert Anton Wilson declared, this shows a large disc bearing the Greek letters to Megatherion, the great beast. Leary interpreted this to mean that he is Crowley reborn and is supposed to complete the work Crowley began. On a PBS interview, Timothy Leary let his hair down and admitted that he was carrying on Satanist Aleister Crowley's work and that the 1960s is when the plan began to come to fruition.
Well, I've been an admirer of Aleister Crowley. I think that I'm carrying on much of the work that he started over 100 years ago, and I think the 60s themselves. You know, Crowley said he was in favor of finding your own self and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, under love. It was a very powerful statement. I'm sorry he isn't around now to appreciate the glories that he started.